Geeks Who Like Sports, just a bit outside. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are and whenever you're listening to us, we hope it is good. Welcome to another edition of Geeks Who Like Sports. As always, I am Ray Carsillo in less on fire, Los Angeles, California. Joining my best friend in the entire world over in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, Lee Elias. Lee, how are you doing this week, my friend?
Dynamite intro, Ray. That broadcasting school is really starting to pay off.
Yeah, just a little bit. Took 20 years. But anyway, here we are. We got a big show for you, everybody. We got a great one for you. We got a lot of video game news. We got a couple of trailers. We got some wrestling news, comic book news, and of course, a lot of sports stuff.
Yeah, the geek gods came back hardcore this week after almost.
We knew they would. We knew they would.
They listened to the show. I guess they needed a break
yes.
because we're so good at this. But now we're back.
Yes. So we got a lot of geek stuff to talk about later in the show, but we're going to kick things off, of course, with the NFL Divisional Round. 4 football games this weekend. We now have the conference championships set. Yes, Lee, no one likes you, and we don't care, and you don't care.
Us and we don't care. Woo.
Yes, your Eagles. I guess
we can.
Do you want to end there or start there?
Let's start with the misery that New York and Dallas fans are experiencing this week with the Washington Commanders taking on the Philadelphia Eagles for the division. I'm sorry. The conference championship, which once was a division, is now a conference championship.
Yes.
A little sarcasm there from me to you guys. Dallas fans, New York fans, I actually feel for you quite a bit right now. This has got to be brutal, Ray. It's brutal. Everything about this is brutal for New York. Dallas, it's like whatever. But New York Giants fans, my God. And to throw more pain on top of it, guess who was at the game on Sunday?
Yeah, Daniel Jones and Sterling Shepard and several other former Giants teammates. Yes.
I mean, I don't see – this has got to be rock bottom for the Giants in modern history.
Oh,
which means
yes.
There's only one way to go. And that's the only silver lining on it. Like,
yes.
This is usually where the story starts
again.
But holy hell. We can talk about those two games. The Washington Commanders, man, just wow. Can we go ahead, Ray?
I just want to say it's not only that, obviously the Saquon stuff, but it's also the fact that clip from Hard Knocks
everywhere
of Joe Shane's son, telling Joe Shane, like, you should draft Jaden Daniels. You only have this job once in your life. You should try to win now.
Yeah.
Is also making its rounds because basically the two biggest mistakes of the offseason, letting Saquon go and not trading up for Jaden Daniels.
Caught on camera.
Not
caught on camera. Invited to be on camera. Let's say it right. Oh, my God.
So the two teams that ended up benefiting from our general manager's ineptitude are now in the conference championship.
Yes. And let's just talk. Look, let's just skim real quick. The Eagles obviously winning their game as expected.
Yes.
Probably a little closer than people thought it should have been. But
although I did say 28-24 score-wise, and I was very close to that.
You were very close. And I'll say, look, it was a close game in that sense. I think the Eagles had control of the game. All right. It was only a missed extra point that made it a little bit tense. But the Eagles in control. Again, the Rams, great team, just could not compete with our offense. And at the end of the day, like we said, they might be a little bit tired. They looked a little tired. They looked a little frustrated to me throughout the game. Okay. Doesn't take anything away from that season. It was a great season for them, but we can move quickly past the Birds and the Rams. It was a solid game, but the better team won.
Absolutely, the better team won. I think also we need to mention in particular the Sunday games. The weather was a big factor.
Massive
right?
weather. Yeah.
The weather was a big factor. The road teams struggled with the weather a little bit more than the home teams did. And also 3 of the 4 games, we'll talk about the Chiefs Texans in a second, but the other 3 of the 4 games, the teams that badly lost the turnover battle lost the game.
Right. We're going to talk about that too.
That is classic football. When you lose the turnover battle by multiple turnovers, it's a single-digit % chance that you can win that game. And the Rams, Lions, and Ravens all lost the turnover battle by not just by at least 2 turnovers.
Right.
And
again, when you get to playoff football, playoff anything, you've got to play
mistakes
at a higher level, and you can't make mistakes, right? You're 100% correct. And sometimes
like
I think
dropping a
fans
fly
go,
ball in center
that's
field.
easier to say than do. And it's like, yeah, no, it is easier to say than do. It's hard not to make mistakes, but that is the separator between a championship caliber team and one that is not. And if you make those mistakes one game, good chance you're not going to be in a championship situation. Now, Eagles, again, through the snow, Saquon's been owning the Rams all year. That was the separator by far.
Fifth all-time rushing performance, 205 yards in terms of playoff rushing performance.
Into that a little bit, but Jalen Hurts had a solid game. I will say this to the Philadelphia faithful, man. It's funny how much people get on Jalen Hurts even after wins, because he has a very dry personality, as you know. But my belief is this guy just wants to win. He's South. I mean, we know that, but I'm not getting on the quarterback right now until he loses a game. Eagles have not lost a real game in a while. I know we have lost games, lost to the Commanders. We have not lost a game with our full lineup since the beginning of the season, guys.
Well, and that's what I was going to mention that, like, we'll get into the previews, but like when Washington beat Philly, they didn't have Jalen Hurts in the second half because of the concussion. So that's we'll get into that after we go over the games. But
I want to talk about Commanders Lions because
I'll
tell you this right now. There are some games where I'll say, wow, the Lions, the better team, really lost that game. I can't say that. I mean, there's some aspects, Ray, for sure. The turnovers you mentioned. Commanders came in there and punched them in the mouth. I mean, this wasn't a lucky performance by Washington. They beat the crap out of the Lions. They showed up. This team is super for real. All right. Now, we say this every year. You get to the championship round, you're not a walkover. I don't care that they're a 6 seed. Anybody who looks at them as a 6 seed right now and bases it off that's probably making a mistake. If you get to the conference championships, you deserve to be there. Washington had an amazing performance. Jane Daniels does not look like a rookie quarterback.
Not at all.
In that game, okay? I found out something that I don't know if you read about some of his preparation for the game that will blow your mind, and you'll love it. The other thing, too, is that I do think that it's possible the Lions were looking past this team a little bit. There are clips of both the Lions and Minnesota saying we'll see in a couple weeks. That can't be out there. That clip, you can't even be thinking that way. Coach can't be saying that. All right. The Washington Commanders earned this victory big time. And I'll tell you what, this game coming up, obviously I want the Eagles to win. I'm going to pick the Eagles to win. But I don't think this is going to be a walkover, barring certain things. This looks dangerous both ways. So it should be a great NFC Championship game.
If Philly, I mean, and here's the thing, and Philly obviously is going to shake off the rust. The weather should be better.
And they'll be pissed from this loss at the end of the season. Can't forget that. If he's not going to forget a 22 or whatever point fourth quarter.
And hopefully, and also they'll hopefully learn their lesson because, again, the Rams almost beat you there at the end because they figured something out with the no huddle. Because you guys' defense, as great as your defense is playing, they get tired. And that's the problem with the no huddle offense is that Chris
Collinsworth get tired too when you do that. You got to be careful. It goes both ways.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's why you can't do it the whole game. But when you need a drive, and that's why, and Chris Collinsworth said it, that false start penalty that allowed you guys to sub out some players, he said that might be the game breaker right there. And again, Chris Collinsworth, broken clock right twice a day, was spot on because you got fresh guys in there. Next play was a sack, and then it was game over. It was closer there, but I think you guys are going to wake up from this. You guys are going to, it's going to make you tougher. Obviously, Washington flying high right now. It's not going to be a walkover, but the better team, like I've said it, Washington's going to be a threat for years to come, but this is the Eagles' year to win the NFC.
I think so, and potentially the Super Bowl. And look, I'll say this too, that with what you just said with the Eagles, I think people are also forgetting Jalen's only been back for 2 weeks.
Yes.
Right. He was out with a concussion. He might actually be hitting his rhythm now.
Yeah.
Right. I'm excited about it. People are so hard on him here. I'm like, guys, he had a concussion. He kind of rushed back. It was a mild concussion. All right. Yeah. Hopefully he didn't hurt himself in the last game.
Oh he tweaked his knee, but he did finish the game.
He finished it. He might have just twisted it a little bit. Look, here's the deal: is the Eagles have so many weapons. All right. It's unlikely you're going to shut down Saquon. All right. Could happen. But even if you do, we still have other weapons, all right, at our disposal. And look, Saquon habitually now, he's good for one long rush a game.
Yeah, right? He had two against the Rams. But
I mean, he's playing out of his mind. This is a guy who believes right now in everything that he's doing.
Only the second player all time. Now, he joins, funny enough, the Rams' Eric Dickerson as a player to have a 200-yard rushing game in the regular season and a 200-yard rushing game in the playoffs in his career. And Saquon did it in the same year.
Yeah, in his first year with a new team. So Eagles got to be feeling pretty good right now. Commanders got to be feeling pretty good right now. The benefit to that is we're going to have a great NFC Championship game. You hope it's not one of those things where someone doesn't show up. Let's talk about the Commanders and Daniels, Ray. So it kind of came out recently. This guy uses VR before every game, and he plays the game in the VR headset at 1.75 speed. And he has attributed that to helping him see the field much better. Obviously, things slow down when you come out of that speed. So here's a guy using VR to make himself a better quarterback. He put it in his contract that the Commanders have to let him do that. All right,
and that's smart too, because what that does is a lot of people don't realize a big problem for a lot of college players of the NFL is they always talk about the speed of the game.
Yeah,
the speed of the game is different. That's how you negate the speed of the game.
Yeah,
by playing the game even faster than you're used to.
Yeah,
brilliant, brilliant.
It's genius. And again, it's overspeed training, right? You're looking at the Eagles' defense in 1.75 speed, and it's probably pretty accurate to the actual defense. Yep. Right. So now he's playing the game. I mean, that's brilliant. This is a true Geeks Who Like Sports, by the way, moment.
Yes.
Okay. Maybe we'll do a mashup about what VR could be used in real life. All right. How about adulting? It's a new game.
Yes.
You have $25.
Job search VR.
Yeah. You have $25. Do you A, buy the $100 object? Do you B, buy a $25 object? Do you C, save the money and move on? The choice is yours.
Yeah.
I said the power is yours. So that's it for the NFC. I mean, again, both teams deserve their spot. Do you have anything on the Lions?
I do want to briefly mention again, that game, Jared Goff.
Yeah.
It is not doing himself any favors in terms of the critics. 4 of the 5 turnovers were his fault.
Yeah.
Washington, look, 45-31 was the final. Washington, 2 of the turnovers, one ended the first half, one ended the second half. The other 3, in credit where it's due, Washington capitalized on them. They scored a touchdown on every one of those turnovers. And when your defense is as banged up as the Lions' defense is,
can't happen.
You can't give a team like Washington that many extra possessions, and that was the game. I said it. People thought I was joking, but I was serious. When Jared Goff got his bell rung, I was like, they should have stayed with Teddy Bridgewater the rest of the game. They really should have, because I think that at that point, Goff just didn't have it. He was not accurate at all in the first half, and that could have been a chance for you to make a change. I know that's crazy to be like, your Pro Bowl quarterback should be benched, but you're trying to get to the conference championship, and I get that, but you've got to be able to see what's going on in the game. The dude did not have it.
No, he didn't
at all.
But I'm not going to ignore 30+ points from Washington. I'm not saying you are either. I mean, they showed up. They showed up to play a playoff game.
Yeah.
And again, we talked about you can't make mistakes. Okay.
Yes.
So speaking of mistakes, let's talk about the Ravens.
Oof.
All right. Because a lot of things going on there. Lamar Jackson calling out his own teammates, but at the same time, Lamar Jackson just as guilty of fumbles and just
first time all year that Lamar had multiple turnovers in one game.
Yeah.
Right.
Amazing.
Everybody on that team played their worst ball. You had I think it was 11 drops in the entire year.
That's crazy.
They had 3
they did
in
not
that
do
game.
What they needed to do to win.
They had 10 turnovers the whole year. They had 3 in that game. And I get it. The conditions were part of it. It was snowy. It was icy. The ball was slick. Buffalo didn't turn the ball over.
They didn't, and that's the difference at the end of the day. Now, look, we picked Buffalo to win that game.
Yes.
But I don't think it was it wasn't as competitive.
The Ravens, if they don't make any mistakes, the Ravens win that game.
100%. But they did. They're in choking territory now. And the thing is that now they've been in choking territory for 4 years.
Yes.
Right. So it's like, hey, guys, now you got to get out of that. Right. You're turning into a team that chokes. Now, we do have to mention, if I'm not mistaken, Ray, this is the Bills' 4th trip in a row to the AFC Championship game. Oh, I'm sorry, against the Chiefs.
The 4th time. This will be the 4th time that Josh Allen will be playing the Chiefs in the playoffs.
Yes.
And Josh Allen against the Chiefs in the regular season, 3-1. In the playoffs, 0-3.
Yes.
So you're talking about choking territory. Josh Allen now similarly needs to get past the Chiefs. Otherwise, he's also a choker.
Yeah. Also, Buffalo, I don't think can handle another 4 in a row loss situation.
Yeah.
After what happened in the Super Bowls. But hey, look, this is the best chance they've had of all those years. Okay,
this is the weakest Chiefs teams we've seen in a while, and Buffalo is clicking. And again,
there's a lot of heat on the Chiefs right now too. A lot.
Oh my goodness, we're gonna get into that in a second. But if this is Brady versus Manning, and Allen is Peyton Manning, this is his time. Just like when Peyton finally got over the hump against Tom, this is his time to do it. This is the best opportunity. I get you're going to Arrowhead, but you've won there before in the regular season. You've got to do it.
Josh Allen said it. He said it perfectly. If you want to win the Super Bowl, you're going to have to go through the Chiefs at some point. And he's 100% correct.
Yep.
All right. So this is it. We got to do the other AFC game. 2 great championship games now set up in Chiefs, Bills, Eagles, Commanders.
Yes.
It's exciting. It's awesome. It's the best of football. Chiefs won their game as we picked.
with helps of the refs and some missed kicks and
it's a little weird.
The worst flop I've ever seen on a football field, even though nothing was called on that. Look, if the Chiefs want to start painting themselves as the modern day Patriots and painting themselves as the villains, they're doing a great job.
Oh, they do. That's where they're at. Listen, this story has been written before. This is exactly what happened with the Pats. So, everybody wanted them to win in the beginning. So many people forget how we all rooted for Tom Brady in 2000. Every one of us wanted him to win. And then a few years later, it was like, whoa, wait a minute. He's using deflated balls. He's a cheater. He's married to Supermom. All right, that's exactly where the Chiefs are at. And now, you know what? If you're a good dynasty, you got to embrace it and you got to own it. And the Chiefs are owning it. All right.
You either die a hero or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain. And the Chiefs have now lived long enough as a dynasty to see themselves become the villain.
Ask Kurt Warner. He knows all about the other side of that. So I'm going to say it again. Like, they're there and they're embracing it. They know it. So I said they got a lot of heat on them, but they kind of embrace the heat. But the other thing that was weird too was at the end of the game, the point spread was ruined by running into their own end zone for the safety, which I thought was I understand the logic behind it. Yeah. But I don't think it played out well on television. I think they were hoping to lose a few more seconds than 4 seconds.
Yeah. It didn't look good.
It didn't look right. All right. And the point spread was right there. That broke the point spread. Yeah. So I don't know if you guys know that, but like the spread was like a half point above what that became. So somebody said, as part of the script, they're doing it. Look, I also think it's perfectly realistic that the players know the point spread and they give a big FU to people. Sure. All right. So like, I don't think it's a script. I think these guys know what's going on. Yeah. Anyway, it was a complete win for the Chiefs.
Yes. Again, and also Texans mistakes.
Yeah.
They
weren't ready.
They missed 2 field goals. They missed an extra point. You leave 7 points on the board. You lose by 9. That's a completely different game if those 7 points are on the board there towards the end. And that's something that they're gonna be thinking about. And Kaimi Fairbairn, who usually is very automatic, but really struggled down the stretch. And kickers are very replaceable in the NFL.
They are. So. And now we come to the predictions, Ray. I think we start with the NFC. I'm going to say it again. I select the Eagles.
Yes.
Very biased. I think they're the better team. I think anybody can win these games. I got to say, I am not confident in either pick that I'm going to make here.
Yeah.
All right. But I picked the Eagles over the Commanders.
I also picked the Eagles. I'm also taking the Eagles. Similarly, I'm going to say like 31-28. Like, I think it's going to be a close game. It's going to be a one-score game kind of thing. It's one of those things where maybe the Eagles get the ball last, and it's going to be.
It could come down to that for sure.
Yeah. By the way, so far through the playoffs, I'm 7-3. You're 6-4 in our predictions. So we're both over 500. I've clinched a winning record. You still have a chance to do so.
Who do you got in the AFC?
I'm taking the Bills. I'm thinking this is the Josh Allen. This is his time. He's finally going to get over the hump. And I rarely pick against the Chiefs, but if there's any time that somebody's going to beat the Chiefs, this is it. This is the time, because then you have Bills Eagles in the Super Bowl, and then the Eagles will have a chance to complete collection of every NFC East team beating the Bills in the Super Bowl, because the Giants have beat them, Washington's beaten them, and Dallas beat them twice.
And I'm sure Buffalo will just sulk in that defeat as they usually do. Ray, I'm having a tough time with the AFC, and I'll tell you why. If the Chiefs decide to show up, they're going to win that game. All right. So I'm talking classic, no mistakes, don't need help from the refs. But I agree with you that the Bills are very ready.
Yeah.
This is a really hard one to call.
Yeah. Absolutely.
It pains me to do this.
My heart. I'm voting a little bit more with my heart than my head.
I'm not going to. It pains me to do this, but I think Kansas City is going to win that game. All right. With the way the officials have been, the calmness of Kansas City, the experience now, they are extremely experienced.
Yeah.
Okay. And a small part of me, this isn't affecting my pick, but a small part of me wants the Eagles to play the Chiefs in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Okay. As cool as the NFC beating the Bills is, getting a little revenge, which is exactly what we did in the last Super Bowl we won,
right,
is right up our alley. All right. And I would love the controversy of the Philadelphia Eagles dethroning this team that everybody wants dethroned, because America will not be able to pick. It's you either live long enough to see yourself become the villain, or you're just the villain. That's that situation right there. It's no secret. Nobody wants the Eagles to win anything from here on out outside the city of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. But I'm going to say it. I'm going to give the Chiefs my vote. I don't want that. I want the Bills to win, but I believe the Chiefs will win.
Yeah, I mean, I want the Bills to go all the way. They are the team that I am.
I would love for them to win the Super Bowl. Yeah, I just not against us, but and that's assuming that the Commanders aren't there. Okay, but I'm going to pick the Chiefs for two reasons. One is the only way I can come back in this pseudo competition that you've created, because I have a feeling we'll pick the same team in the Super Bowl.
Probably.
And again, I had to make it fun for the listeners.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's
and I think that's actually, if I'm gonna go rogue, that's the safest rogue pick in the entire playoffs. And thinking about this, it's like, I'm going rogue and picking the Chiefs.
Yeah.
Everybody forgets. Look, they're playing for 3 in a row. No one's ever done that.
They're playing for their own. They're playing for history.
Yeah.
And to be fair, the last team to play again, and the last team to really play for history, probably the Super Bowl, was the Patriots, going for that undefeated record. We all know what happened there.
Yes,
so
I'm hoping it's going to happen again. But I'm looking at a Chiefs.
I mean, if it's Eagles Chiefs, I will root for the Eagles.
I know you have always been a great friend, and with you're rooting for me, and I don't lose sight of that. And I feel like I have returned that with the Giants when they were playing well, and some of your other teams.
Yes, absolutely. So
it's
also a lot of times when my teams get there, it is also like, it's the Yankees versus the Dodgers. Yeah, no, let's go Yankees. It's like it's the Giants versus the Patriots. Sure, let's go Giants.
So, they make it easy.
Yeah, it does. They do make it easy when they do finally end up getting there and getting over the hump. So, speaking of getting over the hump, Ohio State,
they're national champions.
The national champions over Notre Dame. Ohio State, I believe this is their 6th or 7th national championship all time. I mean they dominated this game, not quite start to finish, but Notre Dame came out, scored an opening touchdown, and then Ohio State scored 28 unanswered. Yep. Ohio State did take their foot off the gas at that point, let Notre Dame kind of get back in it there at the end, but it was too little too late. Notre Dame, we were talking about missed kicks in the NFL playoffs, and missed a field goal for Notre Dame that could have made it a little more interesting there at the end. But Ohio State, your national champions, the 8 seed, knocks off the 7 seed. And also shows kind of like the Texas Rangers a couple years ago in baseball.
We talked about this. We talked about it.
They lost the last game of the year in Michigan. It cost them a chance at the Big Ten championship.
You learn.
Cost them a bye, and they got angry and then ran roughshod through the whole playoffs.
And Notre Dame had the I'm not making fun of them, more of the ordained approach of this is what it's meant to be. Which I always think is dangerous. You got to make your own path there, but that's not a side commentary on anything, people. I'm just saying it from a sports standpoint. Look, congratulations to Ohio State. A very convincing win. The real win here is the college playoff. This was done correctly. It shows you that the top seeded team, again, traditionalists will hate this, does not always mean that they're the best team. I like the idea in the new NIL era that you have an opportunity to compete and win in a playoff that is more emulating of actual football. I never understood the 1-2 thing outside you compete all year. I don't like any scenarios where one loss ends your season. And I think that the college football committee has done a great job of taking that out of the equation. I'd rather be fighting for who should have that 12 spot over who should have the 2 spot. Yeah. And they did a great job. This was a great college football season, the best in my life from my perception. Okay, some of you will disagree with that. Again, the championship game, not as great as I think we were hoping for. I would have really liked to see Penn State there, but they didn't earn it. And hopefully this is the first of many years where things like this can happen. Yeah, but can you imagine, Ray, if we had an Oregon-Georgia national championship? I mean, it would have been a mess.
It would have been a mess.
Teams, all right?
Yeah.
So this is great. That was the real win this year. It was the college football playoff.
The playoff was a massive success. And that was like, by the way, Ohio State's 8th championship. I just Google searched it real quick. All time. Also, need to mention, what's interesting also is that these teams now that have had these long seasons, they're going to have a lot of players that are going to get drafted.
Yeah.
And one of the big things that was always talked about in the NFL was how in the college game, a lot of times college, players would run out of gas once they got to the NFL towards the end of the year because they're not used to playing a 16 or 17 game schedule. Well, now anybody who's drafted from Notre Dame and Ohio State has 16 games under their belts.
Right.
It's actually, I'm very curious. I think the players from those teams are now going to be better prepared for the NFL because they've had their stamina built up a little bit in terms of the idea of having to get used to playing a longer season because of the playoff now. Just a quick thought there that I kind of thought about last night when I was watching the game. Like, it's going to be interesting to see what happens because, again, I think you're going to see a lot of guys who are in the playoffs picture for college football are going to probably be high draft picks.
And that's going to make the college football playoff really interesting is that different teams can really rise and fall now every single season that you weren't expected. Look for Alabama to be coming back hard next year. The other thing too is a lot of money coming into college football next year. A lot of money, the most money coming into college football next year. You better be ready for that because it's going to really change the face of that sport.
Yeah, 100%. The NIL stuff.
Tens of millions of dollars coming into it.
Yeah, it's only getting bigger and better. But congrats to Ohio
State. A lot
of
money.
So we'll see what happens next year. Moving over to the NHL. Lee.
Let's see.
My Rangers are starting to maybe turn a corner a little bit.
100% are finally
6-1-3 in their last 10, which is 15 out of a possible 20 points. That's a 75% point percentage, which is very good. And they've suddenly started to climb the standings again. They're still 4 points out of a playoff spot.
The playoff race is very, very close in the Eastern Conference.
It is a log jam in the Eastern Conference for those last 2 wild cards. Aside from the Sabres, you go from the Senators to the Islanders, right? The Sabres they're sorry, Buffalo. Once again, you just can't seem to do anything right. Ottawa, the Islanders, all separated by 7 points. The entire conference that isn't in a playoff, that isn't in a divisional playoff, right? Like, so you've got 9 teams separated by 7 points.
Yeah.
For 2 playoff spots.
And you're right. Outside Buffalo, everyone's in it right now. I'm looking at it right now. Everyone. It's just going to change a lot. And I'll be honest with you too. Some of the division races are close too.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the Hurricanes and Devils are only separated by a point. Yeah. The Lightning are only a point ahead of the Senators and the Bruins. Like, this is going to be a fascinating Eastern Conference race. We're in the second half of the season now. Lee, you put a gun to my head. I can't predict any of these. What's going to happen in hockey right now? What are your thoughts?
I love it. This is how hockey is supposed to be, Ray. Right? It's supposed to be. You don't know, and every game matters. This is just great business from the sport. Okay, not to mention that next year, this is interesting too. The cap hit is going to go way up.
Yes, because I heard 93 million. I think.
Yeah, it's a correction from COVID, right? So this is great for the game. I mean, look, the Flyers really struggling. Flyers are over 500.
Yep.
Actually, the 4 teams not in the wild card are all over 500. Right. This is
everybody except for the Islanders. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Islanders are not one of the top 4. So the top 4 teams waiting. Yeah. Are over 500. All right. And again, Washington kind of came out of nowhere. But the idea is that this is great. Yes, a team can turn it around, win 10 games in a row, and you are in a playoff spot. You might be in a division lead at that point. That's how close these games are right now. So this is fantastic, right? Yeah. And like most things in hockey, it's going to come down to goaltending. All right. Are you getting the stops that you need? Right. And can you stay hot? And scoring has to be spread out. Anybody can win 4 or 5 games on a hot player. Yes. You get a hot few lines, you're going to win a lot of games in a row. Also, who knows who's going to go into a losing streak? But it's right there for the Rangers, Ray. They made a lot of moves. Yes. Right. And again, I think that things have calmed down a little bit. Yeah, there was a little bit of an emotional hit there, a culture issue. They're still not strong enough right now, from my point of view, to compete.
No,
but we will see.
The top two lines aren't scoring. Yes. Like the fact that the Rangers are lucky to be getting some offense out of the third and fourth lines, but like when you're getting Sam Carrick and Adam Edstrom as your top scorers in the last 5 games or whatever, like. Lafreniere's had his chances. Panarin's had his chances. But at some point, you got to put the biscuit in the basket. And right now, they are not doing that. And so you got to have your best players start to wake up if the Rangers actually do want to make a run at a playoff spot.
Yeah, and if that happens, they are better poised than anybody down there. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, and to be fair, maybe the Rangers need to miss the playoffs for a year, right? They've been making deep runs now for several years. Maybe they're out of gas. I don't know, but. They're also not getting any younger, and they better wait.
I hate saying this, but the last time that happened, after a President's Trophy season, you won the Stanley Cup. So we'll see what happens.
We'll see what happens. And the Western Conference is boring. So.
Very boring. Yeah, Chicago's in a mess. They better figure it out, or I wouldn't be surprised if Bedard gets the hell out of there. He is miserable there. Whereas you look at San Jose Sharks, Celebrini's having a great time, right?
Yeah.
So
they're actually building something. They're a bad team right now, but they're building towards something. You can tell.
I don't think he will leave. Right. Again, his contract's coming up though after next season. But like they better figure something out in Chicago because it's not working out.
No.
He had a rough start last year with politics. Nothing to do with him. He's a great player. McDavid has been suspended for 3 games, as he should. He took a headshot at another player in an altercation. Yep. I like that the NHL did this, showing that they're not sucking up to any of their players, which they've been accused of for years, which I never really fully agreed with. But McDavid retaliated, took a shot at the head. He's out 3 games. It's a statement to the whole league. So good on the NHL for doing that.
100%. Absolutely. Yeah, no, that's never okay. And I don't care who you are. And and we'll see what Edmonton does with those 3 games, because it always feels like when McDavid's not around, that team
it's one of those things. Will they step up? Right.
Yeah.
Will they step up in that situation? And, Edmonton, again, comfortably in the second place in the Pacific. So they're doing okay, a lot better than they did last year at this point. But their playoff race, it's also kind of tight, but it's not as tight as the Eastern Conference is. You really got 4 teams there fighting it out right now.
Yeah, you got like four teams fighting for the last wild card, but the Avalanche are pretty secure. Yeah, there's a big gap between Calgary, who would be the second wild card, and then the 7 playoff teams all ahead of them.
I'd love to see Utah fight their way in. That would be kind of cool. But
that would be great for them. New franchise. I mean, they definitely obviously got a shot in the arm with the move. Obviously, the fan base is super excited there.
Yeah. Not everybody. There was a fight in the last game, and there was a post of, "I can't bring my children to this if they're going to fight. This is ridiculous." And it's like, okay.
Well, there are some of those folks.
Come to an Eagles game.
Yeah. Go to insert sports event here. But anyway, we're just waiting for them to call them the Yeti at this point. Even Sam Rosen basically said it when the Rangers played Utah the other night, and he's just like, everybody out here wants to just keeps calling them the Yeti. They should just call them the Yeti already. And it's like, we get it. Just call them the Yeti.
The Utah Big Love.
Yeah, I don't know about that, but I don't know how many fans would want that on their shirt. But anyway. Moving on to some unfortunate
celebrate great life here.
Yes, an amazing life. Yeah. The great Bob Euchre, who was a below average player, but a larger than life personality on and off the field, unfortunately passed away at the age of 90. Of course, had been a broadcaster for the Brewers for decades, for half a century, basically, known from the Major League movies. Did some stuff with WWE, WWE Hall of Famer. Did some stuff at WrestleMania. Just a larger than life personality who permeated the pop culture like few broadcasters have ever been able to do. Always had a self-deprecating joke. Always.
I got one of those for you now. My brother sent this to me. This is a quote from him that made me laugh. He says, "When I played, they didn't use fancy words like emotionally distressed. They just said I couldn't hit." This guy is always good for a laugh, and that's how I'm going to remember him. Obviously, the Major League movies, as you said, Ray, but just few people can make their name synonymous with baseball outside of playing.
Yeah,
right.
He was, as Johnny Carson called him, he was Mr. Baseball.
Yeah, I mean, just off the top of my head, like Vin Scully is obviously one of those names.
Yes.
Steinbrenner is one of those names. Sure. Bob Euchre is one of those names.
Yeah, absolutely. And it just, he's going to be sorely missed. He's one of the great things that have ever come out of baseball.
Yeah,
he is.
I quote him weekly. I quote him weekly.
Part of the culture, part of the heart and soul of the game, and we're all a little sadder, and the game is all a little worse. There's a little worse off now without him there,
for sure.
And there's gonna be some very, very big shoes to fill up in Milwaukee. But I am available if they need it. No, I'm just kidding. That's terrible.
No, he's not. Goodbye, baseball. Come on, he's right here.
I can do self-deprecating humor too.
I'll say it. Bob would have wanted you.
You should check out my stand-up on February 1st at the Ice House here in Pasadena.
Emerging industries now, right now. I'm just kidding.
No, very, very sad. And I also do need a job. So seriously. But very, very, very sad. Bob Euchre, one of the all-time greats.
Can't think of him without smiling. You just can't.
Yes, he should have his name on the wall in Milwaukee day one this year. Like if they don't do a ceremony in Milwaukee,
they will
this year.
Will.
Yeah. So anyway, so we've lost Bob Euchre, and less unfortunately, but we've lost something else this week. Filing for bankruptcy as we transfer into the geek section. Diamond Distributors. For those who don't know, this is basically where the very big bulk of your comic books come from.
Yeah,
if you go to a comic book store, there's a good chance that Diamond Distributors is the ones who brought those comics from Marvel, from DC, and put them on the store shelves. But in recent years, a lot of those companies have been leaving Diamond, mostly because of their malpractice and marking up of things. And because honestly, it's what happens when there's a monopoly on an industry. And now with everybody leaving and starting to distribute them themselves, and of course also the rise of digital comics, things like Comixology and whatnot, Diamond has filed bankruptcy, and it is the end of an era, and it is what is already a very tenuous industry at the moment with comic books. It is what it is. The comic industry is not very stable because not a lot of folks are going and buying physical comic books very much anymore. People are, but not what like they used to. Lee, do you have any thoughts on Diamond Distributors, the once great monopoly of comic book distribution, filing for bankruptcy?
Yeah, it's a mixed bag, right, with things like this. Like print media has been dead for a while. Comic books tried to hold on to it and probably did a little longer than most.
Yeah.
Problem with Diamond is they never evolved the way they needed to evolve, right? In so many ways. I actually think people would still take print comic books, but you had to go to a comic store. And by the time they figured out mailing it to your house, it was way too late.
Yep.
Right. Also things like, getting a digital copy and a physical copy would have been great for collectors. I know you can do some of this, my friends, but it's not mainstream. And that's, I think, that the loss came in. Also, with the rise of digital, they didn't do enough to like they said, it's not our realm. These things are happening all around you. I'll give you a great example of this happening right now, and nobody really sees it. We all use Google, right?
Yeah.
Will be extinct in several years if they cannot compete with Chat GPT. All right. We are changing again. Google, which killed the Yellow Pages, is going to be having a hard time here soon if they can't figure out how to compete with Chat GPT.
That's why they're trying with Gemini. Yeah, they're trying.
Right. But you can't try. You've got to do it. This is where, by the way, just sharing industry stuff. This is where Apple is so good, is they will wait, they will watch, they will perfect.
Yep.
Okay. That's what they did with the iPhone. Now they haven't invented anything in a while. All right, which is not good either, but they've got, a percentage of the world's population on their phones. They don't really need to anytime soon.
Yes, 2/3 of Americans and 1/3 of the rest of the world.
Yeah, so that's enough business. You don't need to innovate exactly right away. But if you're not innovating, you're dying. Diamond did not innovate. I hate to see them go bankrupt.
Yeah.
But they didn't do enough to stay alive.
Yeah. I mean, and to be fair, and that too, and then somebody, as you know, I have thousands of physical comic books.
Yeah.
But I stopped collecting for several reasons. Like, we talk about the way of the world and things getting better. I don't have the space for dozens of long boxes full of physical comics. I don't. I love comic books. And when I worked at DC for 2 years, it was great because I could read all the physical comics I wanted and then leave them at DC. It was their space problem, That's one thing too. Is it does
dying industry, right? It's just in that form, I should say, not comics, but
right.
But
the IPs will live for a long time. We'll keep living.
We're in a golden age of superheroes, but not a golden age of comics. And the comic books were never able to bank in on that, and it blows my mind that with the power that Marvel had for that 15-year period, it's probably going to start again here soon. The way they're going, they're looking really good right now. Comic books never matched that energy. And I never understood that. There was never any here's the reference, here's this, get this pack, here's all of Civil War together. That was your chance. You didn't innovate. You die. It's true in all business. True in my business, true in their business, true in every business.
True in every business. And it's a perfect segue into professional wrestling.
Yeah, you have here on the rundown WWE TNA partnership. Am I reading that?
TNA, total nonstop action.
What is TNA wrestling? Right.
So first off, for those who have not been watching TNA wrestling, you are missing out. It's better than AEW at this point, which of course isn't saying much. But TNA wrestling has been great the last couple of years. They've really been turning the corner in terms of their storytelling. A lot of former WWE folks went over there. A lot of folks from TNA have gone back over to WWE. And now you have this natural partnership kind of starting to build where TNA might almost kind of become like another NXT is for WWE. And you're already starting to see the crossovers. WWE wrestlers going over to TNA television and wrestling. TNA wrestlers in the Royal Rumble last year. The last couple of years, actually, in the Women's Rumbles. And now it's a big deal. They're talking about Joe Hendry, who won the championship over the weekend, by the way. I believe in Joe Hendry. Anyway, which honestly has become probably my favorite wrestler right now in all of wrestling.
Oh, that's saying something.
He's challenged John Cena for the TNA championship. He's like, John Cena wants to have another world championship. I'll put my belt on the line. How awesome would that be? I don't think John Cena would win just because of storylines and Cena's going to retire. And you want to build Joe Hendry. He's going to be wrestling for a while. Anyway, Joe Hendry, it's great. You've got, Dolph Ziggler now using his nickname, real name, Nick Nemeth, over in TNA. You've got the Hardys back over at TNA. And now the fact that you're going to have this fluid partnership that is announced, much like that AEW has with New Japan, but it's with people that we actually know who they are, right? And again, WWE doing a great job with their stories right now, being led by Triple H, which also, by the way, I don't know if you've been watching WWE on Netflix the last couple of weeks. They are making it so that their matches are unpredictable. It used to be guy hits a signature move, guy hits a finisher, 1, 2, 3, match over. No, not anymore. You're seeing roll-up pins again. Seth Rollins won last night with a jackknife cover. It wasn't a finisher. It came out of nowhere. And then, you're starting to see surprise finishes now.
Creativity is what it is. Yeah.
Exactly. And it makes the product less predictable.
Right. Well, and again, that was their bread and butter for so many years. Big hit, big drop, game over.
Right.
And it's you're right, Ray. You can't do that all the time.
Yeah.
All right. And again, I think they exhausted that at WrestleMania in a good way. We kind of wanted that at WrestleMania, but now it's
at WrestleMania, it makes sense.
Yes.
But on a Monday Night Raw or SmackDown, Sami Zayn, who hasn't won with a Blue Thunder Bomb since he was on the Indies, won last week with a Blue Thunder Bomb. That not only adds that unpredictability, but it adds credibility to the move so that this way, when you see it again later on, you're like, he might actually win with this.
Right.
This move is legitimate. It's not just, it's a signature. He's going to kick out and then maybe he'll win with a Halua kick. No, the move has credibility now. This is a big deal. And again, and now partnering with TNA, it is just more unpredictability. Who wouldn't love to see the Hardys run back one more time in WWE and come out of nowhere and maybe put the TNA titles on the line against the WWE tag team titles, because the Hardys are the TNA tag champs right now. Like, you could do so much with a partnership like this in a fun and creative way. Just don't oversaturate it like AEW with New Japan to the point where you can't tell the promotions apart. But do it in a fun way. This is a great freaking idea.
Love it. Agreed. I don't know how much to say. You did all the talk on that one, but that's perfect.
I'm sorry. I just had a lot to say about this, and I was so excited because I think this is brilliant.
I'm looking forward to the Royal Rumble, and
yes,
like that, it adds another edge to that too when you think about it.
Yes, go watch the Royal Rumble and then see me in Pasadena February 1st at the Ice House. 9 p.m. It's well enough. My show is well enough after the Royal Rumble here on the West Coast. You can do both. I promise you can do both.
And what's that date again?
February 1st. I'm fairly certain that's the Royal Rumble.
Ray double check real quick. I will fill in the airtime while Ray checks.
Yeah, February 1st. I was right. Yeah, February 1st. In Indianapolis. Yes, I was correct. I hope so, because I've been promoting it like that for a while now. Anyway, yeah. I'm excited for the Rumble.
You're clearly excited. Look at you, can't sit still. We got the zoomies over there.
This has been, aside from the opening night on Netflix, which was all about thank you, Netflix. Netflix is so great.
Tough to watch.
The last couple weeks have been very good. We're back to wrestling, and also, the show, they said it variable length. 1 week it was 2.5 hours. 1 week it was 2:20. Last week it was 2:45.
It's over when it's over.
Right. It's not going to go full. It's not going to. They don't want to go longer than 3 hours. They're not going to go longer than 3 hours. But they're like, these are the stories we want to tell this week. These are the stories we want to advance, and we're going to take our time to tell them. It's that simple. Anyway, speaking of taking our time to tell stories, Daredevil Born Again got a new trailer this week.
Yes, it did. It was very good.
It was very good. Marvel, Disney Plus, not shying away, it seems, from the maturity. There was some real bad bone breaks and stuff. And you had the Punisher, and you had all this other stuff here. It looks like they're going dark and gritty, just like the Netflix Daredevil. And Vincent D'Onofrio was born to play Kingpin.
Big time.
He was born to play Kingpin, and it is phenomenal. And to see that, and to see what they're doing for the comics, Kingpin's the mayor. And they have this banter back and forth, and it's just the tension. You could feel the tension in the trailer.
Oh, but it was a classic Marvel trailer, which I think is really cool. And it's really the first time we've seen the old Netflix Marvel characters in this scenario. You could say Echo. I mean, you could say
you had Daredevil make his cameo in She-Hulk.
Those weren't the same thing, right?
Right.
And even I believe also in the holiday special, right? Daredevil. I mean, Kingpin was in that with
Hawkeye. Yeah, the Hawkeye. Yes.
But this is really the first time we've seen the Netflix shows come back, and it's got a Marvel feel to it. Whereas the Netflix shows were always a little separated. Right. So I just love it. It's just, I am a little weirded out that you called me here today. That's how it starts. This is beautiful. It looks really good. I'm looking forward to this one.
Yeah, this is going to be great. Cannot wait.
Well, I'm hoping that they find a way to bring Spider-Man into this eventually. Like, it would be really cool if Spider-Man was in this at some point. I know they don't want to take away from Daredevil, or just bring Kingpin into Spider-Man.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, people forget that, like, first off, Daredevil and Spider-Man team up a lot. Daredevil and Spider-Man fight Kingpin a lot, like, because it's New York City, and that's the thing. And that's street level crime. And like, I do love that one. There's that one comic which of course has been made a meme, but like where Daredevil and Spider-Man are talking about their villains, and they're like, "Is Kingpin one of mine or one of yours?" And Daredevil's like, "Let him be one of mine. Like, who else do I got? Stilt Man? Like, come on, Spidey." Like, and Spidey was like, "That's fair." Right. So like, but that's how often they both fight Kingpin.
But he's a major part of Spider-Man lore. And the other thing too is, now that they haven't really commented, nobody knows who Spider-Man is anymore. So a cameo is in order, although I don't know if Marvel can get their hands out of their pockets fast enough to do that, but we'll see.
Right. We will see. I mean, supposedly maybe you get Daredevil in the next Spider-Man movie.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. I mean, again, they have announced Spider-Man 4. They have announced it. So we'll see what's going on here.
We will see what happens, but very excited about Daredevil Born Again, the new trailer for that. And speaking of trailers, finally, the worst kept secret in the industry,
Yeah,
aside from
that
Penta
leaked
being
and they
a
were
tweeter.
pissed.
Yeah, like it leaked at CES, the Consumer Electronics Show. Like, come on, guys. Like,
Yeah, we all knew
you should have known better because you had all these people who already have peripherals for the Switch 2 ready to show off. You should have known better, Nintendo. You should have released the trailer in December, which it was rumored to be, or at least during CES. But Nintendo's always going to beat to their own drum. Nintendo's going to do what they want, even if they get mad. The Nintendo Switch 2 trailer is official. It was released. It looks sleek. They're saying it's as powerful as a PS4 Pro, which is fine because Nintendo, better than any other console maker, is phenomenal at getting the most out of their technology.
Easily.
They don't need to be the most powerful console on the market because their games still look better than most stuff on an Xbox or a PlayStation. I don't care about your GPU and your CPU and all the other PUs. I don't care.
PU.
I don't care. Nintendo maximizes their hardware better than anybody else.
Quality.
So if they say this is good enough, it's good enough for me.
Yeah, and again, if you didn't see it, it's a little bigger, a little sleeker, like Ray said. First time they haven't really changed the controller in a long time.
No, the only thing that's changed is the connection port for the Switch controller.
Yeah, but Nintendo known for dramatically changing their controllers each time. Did not do that this time. They teased a little bit of Mario Kart 9, I'm guessing.
Yes.
Which looks really good.
People were up in arms because it looked like people were like, that Donkey Kong got redesigned. I don't know if that's Donkey Kong. I think that's Donkey Kong Jr.
Yeah, you might be right, dude.
That's what I thought when I first saw that.
Well, I'll say this too. I gotta say it. I'm a little disappointed they didn't call it the Super Nintendo Switch.
Oh, me too.
Nothing wrong with Switch 2, but man, you had an opportunity there for nostalgia. Your audience is old enough for that.
Yeah.
The Super Nintendo Switch.
Yeah.
That would have been a better name. I'm going to say it, but I guess they wanted to distance themselves from that for whatever reason.
At least they didn't call it the Switch U,
Yeah, that's true too. I don't know why. Super Nintendo Switch would have been so perfect. You could have also released it with a retro flair. Again, sometimes they don't want to do that, though. I can understand it. They want to separate themselves.
And especially there was such a disaster with the marketing around the Wii to the Wii U, right? And although we would have known better. Obviously, Super obviously is the next iteration. Again, to your point, we're old enough to realize that. I think that there's a onus that we've seen. Right when Xbox went from the 360 to the One, people were like, "What?" Yeah. When we went from the Wii to the Wii U, they were like, what? Sony, better or worse, and we're going to get to them in a second, just going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep. People get it. People understand. And so Nintendo not wanting to take any chances. I get it. It's a safe
I get it too. It's
not my favorite.
No. So. Well, and also it makes you think, is there going to be a Switch 3? And again, that might be the direction they're going for all I know, but
and especially, and this is a very sad thought, but Nintendo's greatest creators, right? A lot of their biggest producers from Miyamoto on down are all in their 60s and 70s now.
Yeah.
You're going to start to see the folks who built Nintendo into what it is today. They're going to start to retire soon.
Yeah.
And it's going to take a new generation of creators to carry the torch. And is that new generation of creators ready to do that? Are they ready to continue the Nintendo innovation legacy? Or are you going to start to see stuff that you see from Sony and Microsoft where you kind of see them reaching for trends and reaching for things that they worry about more about the bottom line than being great innovators? That's a problem down the line, but I have a very distinct fear of Nintendo losing their way in the next 10 to 15 years, and they're not here. When in the next decade or so, as these folks start to retire, who will take over the reins? Who at Nintendo? Who is Miyamoto grooming to take over for him as the creative director?
He's
of Nintendo?
Definitely grooming somebody, man. They'll be in good hands. I think it might be a little different, but I have a hard time thinking they're going to fall with the standards that they hold there. I just don't think he's putting anybody in control that's not going to have those standards. Different culture as well.
Right. I hope you're right. Nintendo is the New York Yankees of video games, and it hasn't been good the last 15 years. So, excuse me.
Hey, God bless you, Ray. God bless you.
Thank you. I forgot to move. It came on so quick I couldn't mute myself. I apologize, folks. I apologize.
Anyway, who this man? Boo this man.
Are they saying boo or boo words?
I was saying boo words.
Yeah. We mentioned Sony, and they're a company that's lost its way and doesn't necessarily know what it's doing. Sony has canceled a month. So we had some good news video game wise, and we had some bad news this week, and this is the bad news. Sony canceled 2 live service games, including something that a studio named Bluepoint had been working on for a very long time. They were working on a God of War games as a service. Now, for those who don't know games as a service as, you look at things like Destiny, you look at what the Suicide Squad game was, things that people don't want usually.
Don't.
These are games that tend to, unless you catch lightning in a bottle, unless you're a Fortnite, unless you're an Apex Legends, unless you're a Marvel Rivals, this is a genre that is very hard to sustain. There can only really be so many on the market at a time. And again, it feels like some of these companies are just desperate for that, almost like a passive revenue stream. And goodness knows, aren't we all desperate for a passive revenue stream? But like, I'm glad they pulled the plug, but the fact that they even committed resources and as many resources as they did to these ideas is a disaster. God of War is a single-player, story-driven experience that people love and that they buy by the millions every time.
Yep.
Why fix something that isn't broken chasing a bad trend? But hey, that's Sony. Lee, your thoughts on what Sony's canceled games this week, including a God of War game as a service?
Well, I think that when you sacrifice your laurels in a business and just go, how can we monetize this more and more and more? You're inviting crappy decision making. I'll give you a great example of a company who hasn't done that. Arizona Iced Tea. It's been 99 cents forever. I was watching I was watching an interview recently, and they go, "Why don't you make it more?" I mean, you could do it, right? I think inflation and just time has dictated. You could easily make that $1.99 or $2.99, and people would pay it. Guy goes so nonchalantly. I love this guy. He goes, "We have no debt." He goes, "Why would we do that?" He goes, "How do I know that the 99 cents is not helping somebody out who just wants to drink one day and can't afford a $3 drink?" He goes, why did we do that? This drink is all over the world. The guy's not saying, how can I triple the value of Arizona iced tea? He's saying, no, this is our business model. Yeah. So I think that it's not bad to look at something and say, is there ways to monetize this more? I don't think that's a mistake.
Sure.
But I do think if that's the only thought, you are going to have a problem.
Yes.
And people at the end of the day can learn when they're being fleeced. They might not learn it right away. Might take several times before they learn it, but they'll figure it out.
Yeah.
All right. And that's what
the industry. And the industry has already said, we don't like this style of game for the most part.
You've got to listen to your people. And again, there's this age-old thought of, are we giving the people what they want, or are we telling the people what they want? You know what I mean? And there's a little bit of that goes both ways. But when the people speak, it's pretty clear of we don't want this.
Yeah.
All right. Now you can be in denial. You can be complete denial, but if the people speak, the people speak. You're never gonna get 100% of people.
No.
All right, but that's one of the big problems right now. It's all or nothing all the time, and
the people try to make it black or white, and they try to either make everybody happy or whatever, and they can't do that. Or they listen to the loudest 10% of the population, which following that 10% most of the time is not good for anybody.
Not going to work out. Yeah,
we used to say it all the time in radio at ESPN. The people who have the passion and drive enough to call into the station to complain about whatever make up less than 10% of our listening audience.
Yeah.
Less than 10%, because most other people have better things to do.
Yeah.
They just want to listen. They just consume passively, or if they listen at all. But anyway, again, speaking about other bad decisions, we don't have the numbers, but also speaking of chasing things, Microsoft, a lot more layoffs. Again, still, I think fallout from the merger with Activision. I think it was also a down year for them in terms of sales and whatnot. Yeah. But it is what it is, and unfortunately, this is the way the industry is right now. It will correct itself at some point, but not yet. More layoffs at Microsoft. Again, we don't have exact numbers, but that has been confirmed that a lot more good people are going to be losing their jobs in the gaming industry in what is already a very saturated, people looking for job market. So, So So again, kind of goes into the whole conversation is that you can't keep chasing trends.
This trend will change soon. A lot of factors could play into that now. We'll see what happens, but I think that has reached its bottom now, Ray. I think you're going to start bouncing back, moving upwards. I
hope so. And very, very soon.
I'm usually right.
Yeah, I mean, and because the money's there. The money's there.
Yeah. No, I have a feeling with the way things are turning, the gaming industry is going to start hiring again soon.
Hopefully. So, well, we know for a fact we've had 2 new games confirmed. Well, one not surprising. One was a surprise. College Football 26 has been confirmed.
Great.
It will come out this year. College Football 25 was a huge success for EA Sports last year. No surprise that this should now become a regular thing, which basically means, yeah. Once again, so an annual thing. So now you'll have, along with NHL and FIFA and Madden, you'll have college football as EA Sports, and that obviously means that EA Sports will have to, probably expand a little bit to continue to support this game.
It's a well executed job here, right? Yeah. With getting the first game back out, bringing it back. Yeah. Great marketing, and now you have another franchise. Brilliant.
College Football 25 was phenomenal. I loved it much, much more than Madden this year. I think that the Madden team should look to some of the stuff that they innovated with college football and try to incorporate that. And of course, now, obviously, if you bring them to make them too similar, people might get mad. But College Football 25 was the better football game in a lot of ways.
It's saying something.
Madden. So, and then this was a little bit of a surprise, and it's a mixed bag. Some people are very excited. Some people
I'm happy about this one. I was surprised to get your text, and I don't know if I agree with you. That's what we're going to turn this into a mini clip, and the audience will decide.
Echo the Dolphin has had the trademarks renewed by Sega, and the rumor is they are indeed making a new Echo game that will release within the next, we'll assume probably a couple of years. And I'm just like, I feel like this is Sega dipping into the nostalgia well.
Say what you said to me.
I don't even remember what I said to you.
You said nobody cares about Echo the Dolphin.
Yeah, I mean, I
don't agree with that at all.
I'll say that I won't say nobody, but I think that the audience segment that does care or will remember is much smaller than what Sega thinks it is.
I will say this, that I believe, and Ray, you please feel free to disagree with me. I believe there was a time Sonic has always been Sega's Mario. All right.
100%.
And 100%, yeah, there's no argument there. But I always thought Echo was pretty close at one point. In the early days of Sega, Echo the Dolphin was a known franchise. It was a well-known game. I played it on the Sega Game Gear. I actually really enjoyed those games. They were different. So I think if they're going to do a new Echo, the trick to getting Echo right is making it a side scroller. It's not trying to go innovate and make me actually believe I'm in the ocean.
Yeah.
It's to bring back what made Echo successful. Sonic has not changed that much over the years. Okay. In the sense of the traditional Sonic is still how you pretty much enjoy Sonic. Mm-hmm. All right. I know there's been some 3D Sonics. I know the games have gone, like one of my favorite games was that story game where like you can actually interact with a younger Sonic when you're older Sonic. And he makes that joke like, oh, you couldn't speak that back then. I forget.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. That was a long time ago now. But I think if you're going to make Echo work, do what worked in the past. They did make a 3D Echo at one point that did not do well. Yeah, that did not do well. All right. And again, I loved Echo the Dolphin. So again, there was a time where Sonic and Echo could have been said in the same conversation. Nobody would have blinked.
I feel like Echo was trying to be Sega's Donkey Kong.
Sure, right? That's super fair. Yeah.
Right. Whereas Sonic, obviously, like you said, was the Mario, right? Like, because the first Echo did very well. The second Echo did very well.
The Tides of Time.
Then they did a couple of Echo Junior games, kind of like edutainment kind of games.
Yeah.
And then your point. Right. And then the third proper Echo game, which was for the Dreamcast. And unfortunately, nothing did well on the Dreamcast outside of Soul Calibur.
It was bad. It was really bad. Yeah.
And that kind of killed the franchise.
But I mean,
and that's why, again, I wonder
Echo
if they're dipping into the nostalgia bucket a little too
much
here.
Maybe, but look, I would like to play an Echo game again. I could see myself introducing that to my kids. The Tides of Time was a really good game. I mean, you got to go around history, get to go to Atlantis. Yeah. I mean, I enjoyed it is all I'm trying to say. I don't think people don't care about Echo. I think you have to capture a new audience for sure.
Yes.
All right, but that's in the quality of the game. All right.
Right.
So
Now I was just about to say the way to prove me wrong is that if it is a good game, it does not really, the nostalgia on that will not matter if it is.
And Ray will tell us if it's a good or not.
I will tell you if it is a good game or not.
Now, the other question I have is,
I want it to be good.
Could they be trying to make a movie with Echo, which would be horrible? Don't do that.
Would it be basically like free? Would it be Free Willy?
No, I mean, maybe they put him in Sonic or something like that. I don't know, but
that would be funny.
I'm going to say again to the audience listening. All right, do you care about Echo the Dolphin? Do you want to see an Echo the Dolphin game? Would you mind an Echo the Dolphin game? I am personally excited. I was surprised, right? I really loved the Echo games. I thought they were great. They were fresh. I mean, like there would be times you would just kind of play around in the ocean in those games. Maybe not, and I enjoyed that.
Sure. No, and here's the thing, I agree, but that's my concern is that it's been 30 years since we've had
surely it's been
30 years. The original Echo came out in 1992. Tides of Time came out in 1995.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Interesting.
And then you had the crappy one for Dreamcast that nobody wants to talk about. That came out in 2000. So.
Echo's back.
Echo looks like it's going to be back. Do you care or not? Or not? Let us know. That's the show.
That's the show.
That's the show. Blah, 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 blah. All right. Thank you all so much for tuning in, as always. Look at that. It was a much more balanced episode this week.
Wonderful day, Don. I love doing this show with you. It's great. Thank you, listeners.
Yes. Thank you all so much for listening. We can't do it without you. So as always, do the like, share, subscribe thing. Email us if you have questions or comments.
And the show, Ray.
Comments on the YouTubes and on the Facebooks and on the Instagrams and
and TikTok
and the TikToks and TikTok's back for 75 days. We didn't even talk about that. That's a whole can of worms.
Give that a week to breathe.
Yeah, we'll let that simmer a little bit for folks. But yeah, so for Lee, I'm Ray. Until next time, this has been Geeks Who Like Sports. Subscribe!